Alright, so you're questioning your gender. And if you're anything like me and a lot of other people questioning their gender, you're probably very anxious, scared, you might be panicking even. So before I get into this video, I just want you to sit down, relax, just take a deep breath, and know that everything will be okay, and whatever happens, it'll happen just like it's supposed to. What helped me personally the most when I went through my questioning phase was to watch videos like this one. I binge watched so many videos, and so I just wanted to make this video and hopefully help someone just like these videos helped me. If you're questioning your gender at all, it probably means that you're at least not cis. And just a little disclaimer, I'm not a professional, I'm not a psychologist by any means. I'm just gonna be talking from my own experience and my personal thoughts from what I've seen from other trans people as well. So keep that in mind, but I will be giving you some tips and telling you a little bit about what helped me realize that I'm actually trans. So the most common thing that you hear is look for signs from when you were a child and look for signs basically throughout your life. And it helped me a little bit because when I was a child, I was very, very masculine. I wore clothes from the men's section. I wore boxers. I wanted to be a boy. Basically, I only had guy friends. And that's when I truly felt like myself before really knowing what gender was. But that's not the case for a lot of trans people. A lot of trans people and non-binary people have completely normal childhoods where they don't show any signs whatsoever, and that doesn't mean you're not trans. And also for me in my teenage years, especially my later teenage years and even up to 20, I was very feminine and pretty comfortable with myself. I didn't really experience that much dysphoria. I've always had this image in my mind that every trans person is super miserable with their lives and always has dysphoria, and when they go through puberty it's a living hell and they hate their body so much. And I didn't experience that. When I started questioning my gender, it didn't make sense whatsoever in my mind. And that's why the most important thing to know is that every person's experience is different. Some people know when they're 5 that they're trans. Some people realize when they're 50 or even older. There's not gonna be a one simple answer. You don't even need to experience dysphoria to be trans. It's just a majority of people experience gender dysphoria. So just try to keep that in mind. Moving on. So the first thing that helped me so much during my questioning phase was actually to buy a journal and start writing down all my thoughts. I had so much going on in my head and I couldn't think about anything else. So for me, it was really helpful to just write everything down and then see how I felt from day to day. Also nice to be able to read through everything that I've written. I just want to read through some of the things that I wrote so you can kind of see what it felt like for me. And this started in April 2023, so it wasn't even that long ago. The very first thing I wrote was, the past few days I've been wondering about my gender identity. I'm starting to feel like I'm a trans man. It started as a small thought, but then spiraled as I thought back on my life and the way I feel about things. I panic a lot because I don't know if it's a temporary feeling or not, but I haven't been able to think about anything else, and the past days I barely slept. During the day, I've watched so many hours worth of YouTube videos about trans men. One of the tips for figuring out whether you're trans or not is to journal every day and write down what I feel. So that's what I'm going to do as I figure this out and experiment for myself. And I actually got this tip from Arthur, who also made a video like this, so I'm just passing it on really. About a week later, I'm crying a shit ton right now, partly because of all the stress, but I think it's a lot from everything that has been going on in my mind. I guess I've been a little excited from watching all the trans videos, but when I think about all the things that might come, I just panic. Sometimes when I think about myself as a guy, it feels really good, but sometimes really strange and wrong. 2 weeks later, I've been feeling more sure that I'm trans, and I told my girlfriend 2 days ago. The more I think about myself as a guy, the better I feel on the inside, but also so much more uncomfortable in my skin and in social situations. However, I just ordered some binding tape and more boxers. And I'm gonna get rid of all my panties and feminine clothes. I'm really trying to focus on experimenting still, because as soon as I think about how long I have to wait to start T and get surgeries, the more anxious I get. 6 months later, crying again, still a shit ton of dysphoria. It's been a bit better though. I cut my hair and started posting more trans content on my TikTok, and I feel less alone with my feelings. I've had a hard time getting dressed because I feel like nothing fits me right. I feel so frustrated all the time and always feel jealous of cis men and trans men on T. 3 months later, I'm on T! As you might notice, at first I was really unsure about everything, and I just became more and more sure as I continued writing every week. And now that I've started transitioning, I'm on testosterone, I'm fully out to everyone. I never want to go back ever, and I feel so much more like myself now than I've ever done before. One exercise that I did that actually helped me was to just close my eyes in front of the mirror and try my best, if I had endless possibilities, to be able to change whatever I want and then open my eyes and be fully comfortable with what I see. And just not thinking about social things, not thinking about my past life, not thinking about my family or friends, just not thinking about anything, just me and the mirror and endless possibilities. And that helped me realize that what I personally wanted to see when I opened my eyes was a man. Preferably a cis man who looks like me. Another way of thinking that also helped me that you might have heard before is to think if I could push a button that would just magically turn me into a man and magically just make everyone's previous experiences with me as a man, if that makes sense. I would absolutely push that button. And that kind of helped me realize that what I'm scared of is not being a man, but what I'm scared of is coming out, medically transitioning, and all these things around it and not actually being me. So yeah, that definitely helped me a little bit. The next thing that's really helpful is to experiment, because if you're an anxious person, which I'm guessing you are since you're here, when you start having these thoughts, your mind is going to jump to the worst case scenario and is going to think of all the negative possibilities all at once instead of taking it one step at a time. And what's usually so scary is the fact that medically transitioning and having surgeries are irreversible. And the fear that I had personally was, what if I medically and socially transition and have all the surgeries and then I just regret everything and I'm unhappy forever? Which is a very small possibility in the first place, but in your mind, it's going to be so much more likely. So instead of thinking about all of that, we want to take slow and small steps and try by experimenting with things that aren't irreversible. So that are reversible, basically. For example, cutting your hair, trying new hairstyles, hair colors, trying different clothing, maybe buy some trans tape or something that aligns with your desired gender. Maybe talk to a close friend and ask them to call you by a certain name or use a certain pronouns and just see how these things feel. And for me, it felt kind of weird at first, at least when I tried the name Benji and he/him pronouns. It just felt so strange for some reason, and that gave me a little bit more anxiety. So you don't have to expect any certain emotions to arise. Some things might feel weird, some things might feel wrong, some things might feel better, but the most important thing is that you try things out and see what works for you, what makes you feel good, what makes you feel like yourself. All right, the final thing that actually helped me, which is a weird one, is I from time to time used the Face app. Is it called Face app? Yeah, it's called Face app, and I took a picture of myself and I used the filter or mode or whatever that turns you into a guy, basically. And when I saw myself, I just liked it so much, and I thought, I want to look like that. I want to be that person. So it's something you could try and experiment with. Might not work for you, but it definitely worked for me. Before we end this video, just know that there's nothing wrong with questioning yourself. Remember that one day you will be fully comfortable in your skin, you will feel like yourself, and you'll be happy. And that's the most important thing. If you want to see more of my content, please subscribe. I'm currently documenting my transition, my first year on testosterone, so if you want to see more of that, you can check out my channel. I really hope this video helped you even a little bit, and thank you for watching. I'll hopefully see you soon again.